are like cockroaches in Magic the Gathering, and these elves are going to give you cancer. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Draw Step. And today we have an incredibly toxic, salt-inducing commander for you that your opponents are going to despise. We are working with the brand new commander from Lorwyn Eclipsed, the elf High Perfect Morcant. It says whenever it or another elf enters the battlefield, it is going to cause your opponents to Blight 1, meaning all of your opponents, all of them, have to put a -1/-1 counter on one of their creatures, which that in and of itself doesn't sound that bad. Okay, what if your opponent has a bunch of creatures? One -1/-1 counter isn't going to kill them. Well, if that's what you think, then you do not know elves, because elves can spawn out of nowhere. You will have so many elves on the battlefield in no time. Your opponents are going to find it almost impossible to keep their creatures on the battlefield. Plus, you can tap 3 untapped elves and proliferate, which is a piece of this that I have not seen other decks really play into or make the most of. And we're going to take it in some very unique ways. So you're going to want to stick around to the end because I will show you the optimal way to use a recently unbanned card. Let's get into it. Like I said, we are going to be creating a lot of elves. So as our board grows, we can grow it exponentially with things like Elven Ambush, doubling the amount of elves we have. If we already have a bunch of elves on the battlefield, you play that for 4 mana, and now you create so many more elves, all triggering your commander's ability, blighting the heck out of all of your opponent's creatures. Same thing, Elvish Promenade, create an elf for all the elves you already have. Now, getting the elves that we want, we have things like Celestial Reunion, which you can show 2 elves and then be able to put a creature card direct, tutor for it, put it onto the battlefield. That is sick. Bounty of Skemifar, again, mill, get a land onto the battlefield and also a creature back into your hand. As we build up and as we get ready to pop off, do the things we want to do, we want to make sure our opponents cannot do the things that they want to do. So we have things like Atraxas Fall, allows you to destroy target artifact, battle, enchantment, or creature with flying. I'm going to be real with you. You will probably never, ever in your whole lifetime of playing Magic the Gathering run into somebody running a battle. And if you do, well, that's really a cry for help from them, but you now have an answer to it. Mainly, though, we want to be able to destroy artifacts and enchantments. Whirlwind, 4 mana, destroy all creatures with flying. We have absolutely no flying creatures in this deck, so we need answers to that. We have some reach, that's okay. But if you have an opponent who has, like, I don't know, a bunch of angels or a bunch of dragons, something like that, wipe them all out, keep yourself safe, kids. Eyeblight Massacre, 4 mana, non-elf creatures get -2/-2. This also kind of working with our Blight. We're already lowering all of our opponent's creatures, and they might not have any elves. So this could like wipe them out, and you not even going to hurt you a little bit. We need to ramp quickly. We need to get to where we want to be. So we have things like Patchwork Banner, solid piece. For 3 mana, you're getting to tap it for 1 mana of any color. Plus, as it enters, you choose elves, and all of your elves get +1/+1. Ramp and an anthem effect, mint. Soul Ring, you know what it does. Every deck should have one. 2 mana for 1, love it. Springfield Parade, if you have a bunch of mana to drop into that X cost, you can do that. Create a bunch of 1/1 colorless shapeshifter creature tokens with changeling. So they are basically just, it reads as pay, I don't know, X, pay 10, 15 mana, get 10, 15 elves onto the battlefield. Your commander's going to go crazy. And then you can also tap those to add 1 mana of any color. Speaking of anthems and making our creatures stronger, we have Pride of the Perfect, because our elves, to us, they are perfect. So they get +2/+0. Elder Fang Venom, when they're attacking, they have Death Touch, and whenever an elf dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Going to kind of make your opponents think twice about taking out your elves. Prowess of the Fair. Whenever another non-token elf is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. So again, even when your opponents are taking out your threats, killing off your elves, it's still just creating more elves, which is still causing them to blight all of their creatures. Crown of Skemfar. This thing is going to scale quickly as you grow your board state of elves. You can attach that to an elf, specifically something that already has trample or some form of evasion, and be able to just wipe out an opponent like that. Down in the description below, I do have a full deck list. You can see all the lands that I'm working with, basics and non-basics. Check it out if you want to build this deck yourself, and let me know in the comments if there's any tweaks you would make, cards you would add or not add. Obviously, I made the perfect deck, but if you disagree, let me know. Now, the bulk of this deck is elves. Obviously, we want to be able to trigger our commander over and over and over again. So we have things like Shaman of the Pack. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent loses life equal to the number of elves you control. This could be a bomb. This could take out an opponent when you play this. If you're set up well, if you have 20, 30 some elves, or if an opponent is really low on health, when you play this, you can just nuke them out of the game. Similarly, there is Skemfar Shadow Sage. Same deal, but more flexibility. It can either, each opponent loses X life or X to the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common. So basically, they all lose life based on how many elves you have, or you can gain life based on how many elves you have. I like that flexibility there. Poison Tip Archer for 4 mana, reach and death touch. Again, we do want to be able to deal with our opponent's flying creatures, but whenever another creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life. So now you are killing off your opponents by blighting them. So as your elves enter, it wipes out their creatures and they're losing life because of it. Beastkin Ranger gets +1/+0. It has trample, but it gets that for whenever an elf enters. So as your board builds up, or if you play something that, like one of those token doublers, or, creating tokens for how many elves you have, that is going to make that creature massive and swing through on your opponents. Voice of the Woods. Tap 5 untapped elves you control. Create a 7/7 green elemental creature token with trample. Massive boy. You will get out 5 elves so fast and then be able to use them to make a massive swinging creature. Tireless Provisioner, one of the best, in my opinion, landfall triggers. Whenever a land you control enters, create a food token or a treasure token. Elderfang Ritualist for 3 mana. When it dies, return another target elf from your graveyard to your hand. Good recursion on that. Twin Blade Assassins, 5 mana at the beginning of your end step. If a creature died this turn, draw a card. Is an almost guarantee that creatures, whether they be your own or more likely your opponents, are going to die. Draw cards, refill your hand, keep the fun rolling. Dionys Elvish Archdruid. It says, elves you control have, whenever this creature becomes tapped during your turn, untap it, put a +1/+1 counter on it. This ability triggers only once each turn. That works exceptionally well with some of our mana dorks that we'll get to in a little bit. Ruthless Winnower. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a non-elf creature. Well, if you have nothing but elves, you're good to go. But your opponents, they are going to be losing creatures, and they are not going to be happy about it. Elvish Piper, why pay to play creatures when you can just pay 1 and drop that creature for free? I'm just saying, kind of nice. Jagged Scar Archer, similarly, its power and toughness are equal to the number of elves. And you can tap it to have it deal damage equal to its power to target creature with flying. So take out those flying threats. Null Mage Shepherd, 4 mana, and it says tap 4 untapped creatures you control, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Love that repeatable ability to be able to take out your opponent's things. Beast Whisperer, 4 mana. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. So you are replenishing. Every time you're dropping an elf, you're getting a new card, probably another elf. Keep the party rolling. Viridian Corruptor, 3 mana, has Infect. So it deals damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters. So similar to Blight. Really, it's Wither, I guess, is the actual term for that. But when it enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact, so that destruction on a body. Formidable Speaker, basically tutor for a creature card. And then Rise the Exiled. Whenever it attacks, you gain 1 life for each elf you control. That is going to get you a lot of life as the game goes on. And then Elvish Warmaster. Whenever 1 or more other elves enter the battlefield near your control, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. Unfortunately, it does say this ability triggers only once each turn. Super duper lame, but still yet another Blight activation. And then we have a classic. This actually is kind of an OG elf commander itself. This is one of the more popular ones. Lathril, Blade of the Elves. I had a deck based around this, loved it, and then found the High Perfect Morcant and was like, yes, it's time to upgrade. But it says whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you get to create that many 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. You can tap 10, and each opponent loses 10 life, and you gain 10 life. You can take out your opponents that way. Eyeblight colors. When it dies, you get to create 3 1/1 green elf warriors. So it is almost more powerful dying than being alive. That's fun. And then when this creature enters, if you control another elf, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token, 2 for the price of 1. Again, love that. Wolverine Riders at the beginning of each upkeep. So not just yours, but your opponent's too. You get to create a 1/1 elf and blight all of your opponent's creatures. Lys Elena Huntsmaster. Whenever you cast an elf spell, you may create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. So now you're getting double duty. Every single elf that you lay onto the battlefield, as long as it's an actual elf spell, you're now getting another elf out of that deal. That's insane value. Farhaven Elf. This is for our ramping. It's again going to put a land onto the battlefield. Similarly, we have Spring Bloom Druid. You drop it, you're getting that that land ramp there. Wood Elves, similar deal. Enters the battlefield, search your library for a force card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. But if that wasn't enough ramp for you, we have Priests of Titiana. It says tap, add 1 green for each elf on the battlefield. We have so many elves. We are going to have so many elves. This is going to scale exponentially and produce so much freaking mana for us. A Wirewood Chandler. Tap it. Add X mana of any color where X is a number of elves on the battlefield. That one is insane because even if your opponents are playing, or if they are playing elves as well too, it's going to count all of them plus yours. Absurd how much mana you can make off that bad boy. Marwyn, the Nurturer. Whenever another elf enters the battlefield under your control, you get put a 1/1 counter on it, and you get to add an amount of green mana equal to its power. So as it gets larger, you get more mana. Now, if you have been thinking this whole time, boy, I love this, but my elves just are not strong enough. Well, let me introduce you to Dwin Gilt Leaf. It says other elves you control get +1/+1. Maybe that wasn't enough. Elvish Archdruid. Other elves you control get +1/+1. Oh, and it taps for mana for each elf you control, of course. Draga Warcaller. All your other elves get +1/+1 for depending on how many +1/+1 counters it has on it. Which, by the way, you can proliferate by tapping 3 untapped elves you have. Make him even stronger. Make all your other elves even stronger. Imperious Perfect. Other elves you control get +1/+1. There are so many anthem effects on these elves. They are spawning out of nowhere and then just making themselves all stronger. Canopy Tactician. Other elves you control get +1/+1, and it taps for 3 mana in case you didn't have enough mana yet. Morcant's Loyalist. Believe it or not, other elves you control get +1/+1. Plus, when it dies, you get to bring a creature back to your hand. Elvish Champion. All elves get +1/+1 and have Forest Walk. So if your opponents are playing Forest, you're going to be able to just run right through them. Last elf we have is Draga Tree Speaker. The reason why I saved this one to the end is because it has a level up ability. So you pay 1 in a green, you get to put a level counter on it. As it gets more level counters, it gets to tap for more mana and then ultimately make all of your elves tap for mana. But what's nice with that is that your Commander's ability, the ability to proliferate, you can proliferate level up counters. So you can cheat the cost that would be to normally get that leveled all the way up and get that mana ability out of it. Similarly, you can proliferate things like loyalty counters. So we have Tyvar here, enters with 3 loyalty counters. Elves you control get a tap for black mana, and then you can either put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target elf on tap it, gains death touch, nice, or you could just do the 0 ability and create a 1/1 elf warrior creature token. So for nothing, you're getting to blight your opponents. And then -6, you get an emblem with whenever you cast an elf spell, it gains haste until end of turn, and you draw 2 cards. So it'll be so easy to get him onto the battlefield, tap your elves to proliferate, ultimate him, make your elves, you get that emblem, and then your elves are going to have haste. They can swing right away, and you'll be refilling your hand by drawing all of those cards. The final piece of the proliferation that I haven't seen anybody else do this in their decks, but I think it's incredibly strong, is Magistrate Scepter. You pay 4, tap it, put a charge counter on Magistrate Scepter, or you can tap it, remove 3 charge counters from it, take an extra turn after this one. With all of the elves that we have, we are going to be able to proliferate those counters, cheat that cost. It doesn't have to sit around there being a target for your opponents to take out. Proliferate, get those counters on it, and then sacrifice it, take endless turns. Over and over and over again. Your opponents won't be able to do anything really, and you can win the game that way. Otherwise, we have Flourishing defenses. This card goes stupid in this deck. It will make it impossible. If you get this out, it'll make it impossible for your opponents to have creatures on the battlefield. It says, whenever a -1/-1 counter is put onto a creature, you may create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. So the moment you have this down and your commander sees an elf enter the battlefield under your control, it's going to make all your opponents blight, which is then going to trigger this, and you're going to get to put those many elves on the battlefield, which will then cause the blight again, so on and so on and so on. So it is going to wipe out all of your opponent's creatures. They will be left with nothing, and you will be left with 30, 40, 50 some elves, an absurd amount of elves on the battlefield. And what are you going to do with that? Glad you asked. You are going to play Biorhythm. Now that this is unbanned, that is unstoppable. Wipe out all your opponents. They'll have no creatures, and each player's life total becomes the number of creatures he or she controls. They will all drop to 0. You're going to go skyrocketing to the moon with how much health you're going to have, and that is GG's. Your opponents will be salty as hell, and you're going to be left smiling. On to the next game. So, if you like salty decks like that, if you love deck builds like this, looking for something different or how to improve your own High Perfect Morcant deck, definitely like this video, subscribe, ring the bell notification. We are dropping new deck builds like this all the time. You're not going to want to miss a single episode. Share it with your friends. There's going to be another video that YouTube recommends right up here in the corner, and I'll see you guys next time.